I'm going to give you 10 categories, and I want you to rate yourself from 0 to 5 in each one. By the end of this video, you'll know if your habits actually line up with you getting down to 10% body fat. If you can score 40 points or more, you're on the right track. And if you can't, that doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you know exactly what to fix going forward. Grab your marker, grab your scorecard, let's start tallying, and let's jump right into it. All right, you ready? Category number 1 is going to be walking. So rate yourself on this score. Do you walk at least 9,000 steps per day 90% of the time? If you're at 9,000 or more, give yourself a 5. If you're at 7,000 to 8,000 steps per day, I want you to give yourself a 3. If you're at about 5,000 to 6,000 steps per day, give yourself a 1. And if you're typically under 5,000 steps per day, I want to give yourself a 0 here. Now, keep this in mind. This will be about 90% of the time, because obviously it'll be the odd day where we miss 10K steps, for example. But this is your very first scorecard, guys. Write down what points you got, and we'll get to the next category right now. All right, guys, the second category is going to be tracking calories. And here's how the scorecard is going to work for you. I want you to give yourself a 5 if you track consistently or you follow a structured meal plan. So like, you don't necessarily have to track here, but you have to be very organized in terms of what you're eating, and you have like very good calorie awareness. The third thing is you track occasionally and loosely. So this might be for the guy who does pretty good over the course of the week, but maybe on the weekend they forget to put in some of those foods. You know, that's is very common for sure. I want you to give yourself a 1 if you're just kind of like eyeballing it. So if you're kind of like guessing, guys, and just like eating healthy, you think you're eating healthy, but you really have no calorie awareness, then I want you to give yourself a 1 here. And then 0 is like just zero awareness at all. So like, you're not even trying to eat healthy. You're maybe just trying to eat less a little bit to lose fat. But overall, you just there's no calorie awareness, and the scale's just not moving. So give yourself a score between 0 to 5 on this one right here. The third one here, and this one's going to be a little more black and white, and we'll get to the weeds of this later on the video, but how many times are you lifting weights per week? I want you to give yourself a 5 if you're at 4 to 5 structured weight sessions weekly. I want you to give yourself a 3 if you're 2 to 3 weight training sessions. Give yourself a 1 if you're 1 to 2, and give yourself a 0 if you're just not lifting weights at all. Now, I'll say this, guys, like if you're a beginner and you're just getting into lifting weights, if you're working out 3 times per week, but you plan to go to 4 or 5, give yourself a 5 score here. But again, 4 to 5 structured weekly sessions of 5, 2 to 3, 3 points, 1 to 2 sessions, 1 point, no weights at all, 0 points. All right, the next one, and this one's a little controversial, but I'm going to break this all down at the end to give you a bit of a quick summary. But the next category is, do you sleep at least 7+ hours on 90% of your nights? I want you to give yourself a 5 if you're between 5 to 7, 7 to 9 hours per night. So a 5 if you're 7 to 9 hours per night. I want you to give yourself a 3 if you're 6 to 7 hours typically. Give yourself a 1 if you're under 6. And I want you to give yourself a 0 if you're basically just like chronically fatigued and you're just constantly tired with poor sleep pretty much every single day or most days. Again, I'm going to break this all down at the end, but let's move on to the next category for now. Okay, we got another black and white one. This one's very straightforward. Do you hit at least 0.8 grams per pound in body weight when it comes to protein? So for example, if you weigh 200 pounds, you times by 0.8, that would be 160 grams per day. So do a little math right now if you need to. So I want you to give yourself a 5 if you hit your daily targets. So again, if you're 200 pounds, you get at least 160 grams of protein every single day. Give yourself a 3 if you're close most days. So maybe some days you do get it, but some days, you're just a little bit short, maybe between the 130, 140 range, if we're using the 200-pound man as this example here. Want to give yourself a 1 if you're just inconsistent. So maybe you're getting like 1 or 2 days a week where you're reaching it, but there's really just no consistency at all. And give yourself a 0 if you're just like always under 160 grams. Again, using the 0.8 grams per example here. So give yourself a score, guys, between 0 to 5, and let's move on to the next one. Okay, this next category, I think this is where it's going to stump people a little bit, and your score might lower. And even for me, like I didn't score a 5 on this one. But the next one's going to be having progressive overload at the gym. So we'll kind of find that what that means with the scorecard right here. So I want you to give yourself a 5 if you're tracking lifts and progressing intentionally. So this would be you if you're kind of like marking things down, you know how much weight you did last time, and you're either trying to improve on the weight you did from the previous time, or you're just trying to do the same weight with more reps. And obviously, you're not going to increase the weight every single time over the course of months and years. Point being is like you track your lifts, you try to progress overload every single time, and you have a structured workout plan. Give yourself a 3, and this is where I would fall under right now, honestly. It's a some progression, but not consistent. I mean, like you're pretty aware of your weights, but like, you know, sometimes you just kind of do the same weight for the same amount of reps, and you're not dialed in 100% of the time. And that's where I admittedly would fall under right now. I'm slacking a little bit the last month or two. Number one, just kind of like random workouts. So you like no set structure at all. You're gonna work out to the day, you know, CrossFit, weight training, but just doing like whatever. That'd be a 1. And a 0 is that you just have basically no plan whatsoever. So this can be either just like not lifting weights at all, or again, just like no awareness and you're just kind of going with the flow at the gym. So give yourself a score, guys, between 0 to 5. And I'm curious, let me know in the comments below what your score was for this one, because I'm curious to see if you guys beat me for this one here. All right, we got a few more categories, guys. We're going to all add your score up, and we're going to talk about it at the end, what it means for you. The next category we have is cardio. And do you do at least 2 cardio sessions per week? And this is where I completely fail, and more on this later. But score yourself a 5 if you have like those planned cardio sessions weekly. So in other words, you're basically doing these 2 or more cardio sessions every single week. Number 3 be occasional cardio. So maybe you're at like once a week, usually the odd time twice, but you're just not consistently at least twice per week. Give yourself a 1 if you're like one random activity. So typically for me, I'm in Canada, maybe play hockey once a week, or maybe you're playing a pickleball, something like that, where it's it's just kind of random and you're not doing it consistently. And then 0 is none. I'll kind of fall under the 1 category right now, kind of like the one random activity, because I typically don't plan a lot of cardio. But give yourself a score, guys, between 0 to 5 for that one, and let's move on. All right, guys, the next category is eating whole foods. And do you eat whole foods about 80% of the time? And here's how I want you to score this. Number 5 is you basically have whole foods 80% of the time. So very straightforward to what I said. So most meals. 3 is you eat, clean during the week with those whole foods, but you typically let loose on the weekends. Most guys kind of fall under this bucket, and I guess you could say I'm kind of like that also. Number 1 I want you to score is if you have mostly processed food, so those frozen foods that are kind of packaged up. Give yourself a score if it's mostly processed, and then 0, just give yourself a 0 if you basically have no structure at all. So like you might have some whole foods, but it's really not by design. It's kind of by accident. So give yourself a score, guys, 0 to 5. We got a couple more to go. All right, the next category, guys, is actually very important, and I think a lot of people overlook this. But the next category is going to be accountability and progress updates. And here's how I want you to score yourself. I want you to give yourself a 5 if you have weekly check-ins consistently. So whether it's with like a coach, whether it's like a group of friends, whether you're taking progress photos, whether you're doing like body measurements. So we want some sort of accountability where, like I said, we have to have like a coach or a group or maybe a friend kind of holding you accountable. But we also want to see progress by either, taking body measurements, maybe it's body fat, maybe it's before and after pictures. Obviously, you use a scale as a tool. So the more you can do that, guys, give yourself a 5 for that one. If you're pretty close, you can give yourself like even a 4, but you'll kind of see what the next metric is going to be for number 3 here. Give yourself a 3 if you have occasional updates. I mean, like, let's say once every, 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, you'll take some photos, but you really don't have any accountability or someone to hold you accountable. So I would say give yourself a 3 if you're kind of that person. Give yourself a 1 if it's like very rare tracking. So you really don't have a ton of accountability. You might take some progress photos, or you might hop on the scale from time to time, but you're really not too concerned with your progress or lack of progress. And the last one is like 0 accountability. So like you're just a bit of a soup sandwich, like you're going through the motions. You really don't know if you're improving, progressing, you're showing up at the gym, eating kind of whatever, and hoping for the best. One more category, guys, and we'll tie this full circle, and I'll tell you what this score means for you depending on your score. All right, the last one, guys, and this is super underrated, especially if you're someone who's struggling and is stuck at a plateau. The last one is going to be surround yourself in a good, positive environment. And here's how I want you to score yourself. I want you to give yourself a 5 if you are in a supportive environment, meaning like the people you hang around with are kind of into fitness and they're going to the same goal as you. Again, maybe like you're in a coaching program where other people are on that same journey as you also. Maybe it's like even the food in your house. So like when you come home, is your partner like does your partner have like a lot of chips and stuff? Or are you coming home and like, there's like chicken, good foods that you can basically eat and kind of minimizing those temptations. So give yourself a 5 if you're that kind of person. Number 3 is kind of like a mixed environment. So like you have some people who are on the same journey as you, but let's say maybe you're going out sometimes, your friends love to drink and, you get home and there's some unhealthy choices, we'll call it, in the house. So, but it's mostly good. If that's kind of you, I'd score yourself a 3 for the environment. Number 1, I'd say mostly unsupportive. So you're kind of doing this on your own. Like maybe your friends in the background are somewhat supporting you, or you got the family members like, oh, like I'm proud of you. But you're basically doing this by yourself, and the household's not on the same page. And or again, you live by yourself, and you're just kind of doing this on your own. And 0 is basically actively sabotaging. So people basically trying to pull you back down. So let's say like if you're trying to do good and your friends are like, oh, like, what are you doing? And kind of judging you, like then you give yourself a 0 if this is you. All right, guys. So write your score, add it all up, pause the video if you need to. Let's calculate it. I'll tell you what your score actually means when it comes down to again to 10% body fat. So let's have some fun now. Okay, guys, let's jump into it. So I'm going to be peeking over my laptop because I got my stuff written down here. I'm sure you saw me peeking a lot during the video also. But what score gets you to 10% body fat, right? And hopefully you guys have your score now. If you don't, just pause the video quickly, add it up, and then resume the video. So if you're between 0 to 24 points, you're simply going to struggle. Like you might do good at first when it comes to losing fat, but eventually you're just not going to be able to sustain it because you really don't have those good habits. And the cool part about this is you can kind of look at your worst scores and try to even fix like even 1 to 2 of those to start and then try to progress over time essentially. The second thing, 25 to 34 points. So if you're in this category, which probably a lot of people are, you're gonna get some results. You're gonna get frequent stalls though, and you're gonna get inconsistent body composition changes. So this might be the person who's kind of stuck at like, 15 to 20% body fat. You've done pretty decent, but you're just not quite dialed in some aspects in your training, nutrition, or even your lifestyle. And you're just kind of wondering like, okay, what do I gotta do to get over to over this hurdle? Again, look at your score, look at your 1 or 2 lowest ranking scores, try to improve that by at least 2 points, and you guys will see a massive difference in your results. 35 to 39 points, and here's actually where I'm at. I scored about a 38, and again, I'm going to talk about this full circle at the end here because it's not perfect, and you'll see what I mean. 35 to 39 points is you have solid fat loss, likely leaner, but you're not completely peeled. So peel basically means that you're not completely ripped. So I think for some people too, we're going to find ourselves in this category, which in my opinion is a very solid spot to be at. But if you want to get down to that 10% body fat, you probably just going to button up maybe 1 or 2 more things in these 10 categories. And the last score is 40 to 45 plus points. This essentially means like 10% body fat is very realistic for you. You can probably get down to it within the next 6 months if you continue to get habits and you're basically completely dialed in. Now, what's a disclaimer here? Because like for myself, I'm probably at about 10% body fat, maybe 11% right now. I'm pretty lean and not as bulky as I typically am. So what does this typically mean, right? For example, every score doesn't mean the exact same. Like I would rank obviously your calories, counting your calories, having your whole foods, having your protein, getting your step count up a lot higher than getting like 2 to 3 cardio sessions in per week, if you know what I mean. Or even for some people, like I said sleep 7+ hours per night. I know people who are absolutely ripped who sleep 5 to 6 hours per night. So they might score like a 1 there, but in reality, it doesn't make a difference. So this is not a perfect system, guys, but what it does do, it gives you a good chance to look at these 10 categories I gave you, and then you can kind of see where you need to improve, like what's your bottleneck, and you can attack those 1 to 2 or even 3 things that you need to improve on. And before you know it, you're going to get down to that 10 to 50% body fat, and you're looking lean and chiseled for the summer. If you guys like this video, if you found this helpful, please leave me a comment, a like, would also help. And thanks so much for watching the end, and we'll see you guys in the next video.